Awesome, thanks.
Thanks, partner.
I want to thank Pastor Joe for inviting me after the first two speakers couldn't come. It's good to know I'm at least second on the list. So tonight, I'm a youth minister, so I'm not someone who does like speaking every week. Does it make sense? So like, I'm not used to like when you said 6 sessions, I was just like, well, 6 sessions, like that takes me like 6 months to do 6. So what I'm going to do, I've done one. I'm going to cheat on this one. I'm just going to share my testimony, if that's okay. And just a way for you guys to get to know who I am, and just to help me relax, and then you guys can relax, and then if we can all relax, we can retain more, I think. When you relax, you retain more. That's something I learned at university. Yeah, you relax. Well, I'm not there yet. I'm trying to get there. I was really trying to step into that worship, like, Lord, I just need to relax. Like, I'm just still nervous. So I thought we'll kick it off with some photos, just because, help you see. This is my family here. I'm the guy holding the book with the 70s hair. I don't know what you call that, but it was something. Maybe too much. The family was too big to get a haircut or something. And that's all my brothers and sisters you can see there. So a big family. There's my dad and my mum, and apparently those curtains were exactly the same curtains that Pastor Joe had. Because I don't know if you know this, Pacific Islanders are really into flowers, and so Samoans usually have some type of hibiscus flower in the house somewhere. So that's those curtains there. And so there I am. I'm reading Lord of the Rings there, I believe. So yeah, cool. You can tell I was destined to be an academic, which I'm not actually. But yeah. So next photo, please. Number 2. Now that's just us there again. Just trying to, big family. Obviously, a lot of kids. That's my dad there. We're surrounding him. I'm at the top there now. You can see me because I'm the oldest of the family. Before in the other photo, you would have saw another guy. That was my uncle who was living with us. It's not uncommon for any relatives to stay with island families for a day or 20 years. They just move in and then they go when they need to. So yeah, there I am. You can already see by my facial expression, I'm trying to be cool. I don't know if you can pick that up. I'm a bit standoffish. I'm not really embracing anyone. I'm just on my own. Okay, next slide. There I am again with the hat looking over. I don't know why I think I'm being cool, but I just totally ruined this family photo. I'm not smiling, I'm not looking. Anyway, yeah, so that's another family photo of us all a bit older. Next photo. There we go again, a little bit older again. Yep, my brothers and sisters, Harley, Libby, Easter, Benny, Daniel, Lily, Jordan, me. That's what their names are. Next. And that's my family now. So that's my wife, Rebecca. That's my son on this side, Hadley. He's 2 years old. And this guy over here, he's 5. That's Asher Paul. Next photo, please. There they are again. Hadley's actually started talking. So I rang up before, and he's like, what did he say? He says, "Where you, Daddy?" I was like, oh no. He started talking without me, like, Josh. I was like, oh yeah, so he's very cute. Next photo, is there another one? And that's my other son, Abel, who was born in January. So 3 boys, and I'm quite blessed because they really love holding their brother. And that's a real blessing, but sometimes he's sick. I'm like, go away, don't touch him. Put on a mask, you're sick. So that's my family, yeah. So, I want to kind of start at the beginning. My father is a very strong man of faith. He'd often carry me to bed, and my earliest memories of anything to do with God is my dad putting me to sleep, tucking me in, and praying for me. And he would just always teach me, the Pacific Island golden rule, which is put God first, family second, and education third. Because education was the path to a better life and money, and that's why we left the island in the first place. We left the island, my family, my grandparents packed up all their possessions in banana boxes and left to go to Auckland because that was where they were going to you get education and money. In fact, my granddad, he just wanted to move because he wanted to drive the bus and he wasn't allowed to in the islands. And so that was his driving factor. But, education was a big thing. And so me growing up was like, Dad told me God's real, and that put God first, put family second, education third. And so my dad would always pray for me, and then he would leave the room, And I'll just lie there as a young boy, this is before primary, and I'll just pray to Jesus to come into my heart. And I just remember that at a young age, I was very receptive to the things of God. And to the point where I don't think my parents really understood how receptive I was. I would always ask questions. And when you're in a big family and you ask your mum and dad questions, often they don't realize that you're asking spiritual questions because you're interested in God. And they say things like, all right, get away, hurry up, move, have you cleaned your room? All right, get away. That was my mum and dad. So they would often shoo me away when I had these questions about God, because I had my little yellow children's Bible, and I loved reading it, and I looked at all the pictures, and I remember I used to love Samuel, the prophet Samuel, just because of the way he was dressed in the picture. Obviously, that's not actually what he was, but in my mind, it was like, yeah, this guy's cool. So, very receptive and sensitive heart to God, and I loved church, and I loved listening to things. And so my dad taught me to pray, essentially, and often in the car, he would be driving, and he'd always pray in tongues and just tap the car while he's driving. Every time he's driving, he's always tapping the steering wheel and praying in tongues. I'm like, Dad, what are you praying? He'd say, I'm just praying in tongues. And that's all he would say to me. And so he never explained it to me, and I just kind of, okay, praying in tongues. And so prayer was a big, strong thing I saw in my dad early on, and consequently that, I guess, somehow that got over to me. I'm very into prayer as a young man and even as an adult, and obviously that's a good thing. But my dad also struggled with anger. He had to do anger management courses. He used to give me huge hidings, like we would call that physical abuse today, but in the islands it was very normal. Like Pacific Islanders, this is kind of a standard hiding. But many times I would go to the hospital, stitches in my head, and I'd have to make up a reason. I fell off the brick pile, or this time I fell, I hit my head on the door because my dad had hit me. One time he hit me with my mum's clog, just split my head open. One time he threw me into the wall, split my head open, blood, my mum screaming, and then I have to go to the hospital and I had to tell them, make up a reason why. And my parents were telling me the whole way, they're prepping me. And this is before, like child protection and all those kind of things. So it was just, there's that weird dynamic of faith, but hypocrisy, but faith. And my dad's doing these anger management courses, and consequently, like my little brothers and sisters, they didn't even get any hidings. And I just thought that was, now I look at Dad and go, see, you should have given her a hiding there. Look at that. look at her now, Dad. So you went to the other extreme. And so I didn't know that this was a bad thing, because my cousins were getting worse hidings than me. Quite normal, Like our family was quite the tame Christian family, and my dad, he wasn't always handing out big hidings every night. He was just a volcano that would erupt every now and then, and you just don't set the volcano off. Mum was more like the constant dragon. She was screaming and going around the house all day, every day, about any little thing. But my mum, she was strong in worship. She would always play the guitar. And I wanted to play it and sing you guys a song tonight that my mum taught me when I was young. And so I'm going to do that soon, but let me just describe. So my mum, she would play these songs, and she would sing worship songs. And I just remember it's like I had my own personal great singer in my mum that would just sing at home and sit around, and all the kids, all of us here, would sit around and sing with my mum. Now, often my dad, because of his anger, he used to beat my mum up too. So, a couple of black eyes here and there, smash things around. And then in the early days, he would take off on his work truck, and he might not come home for 1 or 2 or 3 days, just because he's just taken off. So I remember he used to, bash my mum up a little bit, not like once Warriors bash, but sort of maybe middle of the road, kind of, not too bad, but bad. Now that I know it was bad. And then, and it was often in those moments that she would get out the guitar and she would just sit in the lounge, and then she would just worship God. And we would all just sit around in the lounge and worship God. And I remember my mum crying and just singing songs. And I think one thing that I look back now is that it was in those moments I learnt the power of worshiping God in a tough time. When your brothers and sisters were all huddling together, crying, mum, dad screaming, like loud noises. That obviously, my mum's getting beaten up, and we're all huddled together crying. And I'm the oldest, so I'm supposed to be the strong one, huddling them all in, etc. And so, my mum taught us to worship, and she used to always sing the song that she wrote. And she wrote the song, for young people, and I'm just going to sing that for you guys tonight, if you don't mind. And just because I think, for me, this song's, I guess, a big part of who I am. And so, yeah, I'd love to share it with you guys, and you'll see what it's like. I already asked this guy if I could use this guitar, because I don't know, if I had to ask him in front of all of you, he has to say yes, right? So I wanted to be like, I want to ask him properly.
There you go. Yeah, you can actually just...
Oh, I can sing on this? Okay, cool.
Do you want to adjust the strap? Because
Nah, it's all good. We'll just go with it. Young people searching everywhere for peace they cannot find. The world's measure of success is what they advertise, but it just don't satisfy. 'Cause in a world of lost opportunity where hope is gone astray, where do you turn for security when doors slam in your face? Call out to Jesus. He's the only one that can heal. The emptiness within you needs to yield unto His will. Call out to Jesus. He's the only one that can heal. Said He wants to fill your life with love and fill it up with springs of living water. Oh, living water. Living water, living water. So young people searching everywhere for peace they cannot find. The world's measure of success is what they advertise, but it just don't satisfy. 'Cause in a world of lost opportunity where hope has gone astray, where do you turn for security when doors slam in your face? Call out to Jesus, 'cause He's the only one that can heal. The emptiness within you needs to yield unto His will. Call out to Jesus, 'cause He's the only one that can heal. He wants to fill your life with love and fill it up with springs of living water. Oh, living water. Said He wants to fill your life with love and fill it up with springs of living water. Oh, water, yeah. Said He wants to fill your life with love and fill it up with springs of living water. Oh, living water. He wants to fill your life with love and fill it up with springs of living water. Yeah, so it's just so powerful when, I look back and I go, man, I was blessed with that. That was such a powerful blessing in my life, to have a mum that would lead you to the source in a way that she wasn't really leading you. She was just singing your heart out, and invariably, I get drawn into the presence of God without understanding what this is, but knowing that this is it. And so anywhere I go, when I worship, I know what I'm doing. I'm drawn into that place. I can draw near to the source because it doesn't matter what the circumstance is. I've learned at a very young age that this is the place you go when life is not working out. And I love that about my upbringing. That was my mum, very strong lady. She still sings in faith. She wrote that song for young people, I think, in the 70s. And she doesn't know this, but I was telling my mum the other day, I said, yeah, Mum, I've been singing that song all over Australia, everywhere I go. She's like, what? I was like, yeah, I thought. And she's like, how do you sing it? I was like, I just remember it. And she's like, oh, wow. I was like, I only do the first verse twice, though, because I can't remember the second verse. It's just lost on me. And she's like, oh, yeah, it's this, this, and this. And she always tries to tell me, but I'm like, nah, it's too late now. I'm locked in. So yeah, that was the early days of my faith. And, you know, being in a big family, there is no room for privacy or nothing like that. You're getting Christmas presents, it's for the whole family ones. No one's getting the individual wrap presents or nothing like that. It's like, and so we were kind of poor. We were always eating a thing called koko alaisa, which is like, it's basically rice with sugar and cocoa in it. Yes, but it's like, you know, it's almost like we probably have that 3 or 4 times a week. And, you know, that's a cheap meal. And so that was my upbringing, church every Sunday. And I remember when at primary school, I gave my life to the Lord publicly anyway. I feel like I already had done that. But over the years, I've probably given my life to God, I don't know how many times, heaps of times. Is anyone in here giving your life to God like multiple times? I've already said the prayer, but I just feel like this is something good. So and I think it's awesome to keep doing it. Like, why not? I've been baptized twice. I just feel like, yeah, I want to get baptized again, because when I was young, I was like 8. Like, I feel like this is now I'm an older man. Like, I want to do it again. So, yeah, I've been baptized twice. So I had primary school, right? And some of my memories of primary school was, I remember one particular memory where I wore a Batman hat to school. I wear this Batman hat to school because I had stitches from my dad, and I didn't want the kids to see it. And so I don't know why, I was just ashamed. There was like a thing of shame over it. And so I would hide it because I didn't want the kids to know that. Not that I was going to say, how did you get those stitches? Oh, my dad gave me a hide. I wasn't going to say that anyway, but for some reason I just wanted to hide it, so I hid it. And then my teacher, Miss Fellett, in room 4, she said, Henry, take your hat off. I said, no. And the whole class goes quiet, because like back in those days, it was, you get the strap. Has anyone been at school where you used to have the strap? Yeah, you have, Pastor Jay. Anyone else? No. Had a ruler? Yeah, well, you're allowed to hurt kids. It was like it was legal. And so you just didn't mess around. Nobody had ADD and ADHD, and everyone sat still, and if you didn't, you got a whack. And so like the ruler, we had one teacher who would carry around this yellow rod around the playground, and he just wanted to hit kids. You could see he was angry. And so he's just looking for an excuse to hit you. And so you never said no to the teacher. So when I said no, all the kids got a bit excited, because, you know, you're excited to see someone get hit. And she decided to be nice. She says, go to the cloakroom. So I was going to go to the cloakroom, and then she would give me the strap out there, you know. That was a nice version of it. So I went out there, and she ripped my hair out. She said, why did you take it out? I said, oh, my dad gave me a smack. And she started crying. She was like, oh, what happened? And I was telling her. And then we opened the door to go back in. She said, you can wear your hat, it's okay. We go back in, the teacher's crying, and I've still got my hat on. And the kids are like, and now I'm the teacher's pet, you know? She's like, Henry gets to ring the bell today. You get to feed the fish. Like, you know, all the little thing that primary school, that it's like the cool thing that, like, who cares about ringing the bell? But for some reason, when you're at primary, it's like, yeah, ring the bell. So, but I remember after that moment, like, thinking, something's not right here. Like, her reaction stirred, like, something in me that was like, what's happening in my family? This mustn't be right. Like, and my dad, you know, he's taught me to pray, but why is he hitting me like that? And that's not, you know, I started questioning things. Because, you know, at primary school, kids, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds are very onto it. You better watch what you say, because they remember everything and they bring it out the wrong moment. I remember, my cousin, he's a 4-year-old, and he's in the supermarket, and I was over there for something. And my cousin went to give his child a smack, and his 4-year-old said, Dad, don't hit me. really loud in front of everyone. She was like, oh, shh, quiet. So, like kids, they're very intelligent. They know a lot more than you think. And so I'm comprehending a lot of things at a young age at primary school, like about my home, and I'm asking questions, and they don't know this. And I talked to that teacher again, like, oh, yeah, so did you ever get hiding smiths? She was like, no, I didn't. Have you? And I realized now she was trying to do a little investigation. She was like, hey, Henry, so how was your week this week? She's trying to figure out things about me. And so, yeah, you could say I had a full heart with God, but now I've got some doubts. And this is at primary school. I move on to intermediate. And, intermediate in New Zealand, you go to primary, then you go to intermediate, then you go to high school. And intermediate's like you're 11, 12 years old. And it's where all the kids go through puberty. And so I remember just being at primary school going, oh, Mum is not the prettiest girl in the world anymore. It's Karen Hiruini sitting at the front. And then my mum's like, how come you... Because I started asking to buy Lynx, which is like spray. I've got no hairs under my armpit. I'm just like, I'm not sweating at all. I was like, she's asking, why are you buying Lynx? And I started washing my uniform and laying it all out, because I noticed she was very clean and proper. So I was like, okay, I want to be clean and proper too. So yeah, and then as at primary school, I started smoking with my friend, smoking cigarettes, because he was a young Māori boy and his parents divorced, and a lot of dysfunction. I mean, a lot of the kids that I hung out with, their parents were in gangs were like Black Power, Mongrel Mob, these big Maori gangs. And so I just started hanging around with them and just doing things that I thought was cool. And I still loved God, and I was still going to church every week, but now these other things are starting to impress in on my heart, different things where I'm trying to be cool, trying to smoke cigarettes. Well, I didn't even like it, Anyway, most of you probably never smoked, but I used to smoke when I didn't even like it, just to be cool, and suppress the cough that I had coming, but I'm trying to maintain. And yeah, it was an interesting journey. And then it wasn't until high school that, more and more, I'm more worried about what girls think and trying to show off and be cool and not be so around my family, because, you want to leave home as much as you can and be with your friends. And at my high school that I went to, it's called Aranui High School. It's the lowest academic performing school in all of Christchurch, and still is to this day, because it was 95% Pacific Islander and Maori, or Māori, you would say. And so Pacific Islanders and Māori, we're more into sports and music, but not the formal kind of sports and music. We don't actually want to train or learn about music. We just want to play the guitar and just have a jam. And so at this school, it was very daunting for me, because, like I said, a lot of these kids would be bringing drugs to school, and their parents just give it to them. So, the teacher can't ring home to say, oh, your son's been caught smoking weed. Yeah, I gave it to him. And you don't want the parents to come down, because the whole car's going to come down. All these big mongrel mobs are going to come out with all their tattoos everywhere, big Maori dudes, and go, yeah, you called about my son? And then the teacher's like, oh, I'll never call home again. It is what it is. So this is what my high school was like. And it was very tough and aggressive people. I remember playing footy, we'd play league, and people just want to, smash you, and not just smash you, but make you hurt and get injured. It was but you had to play, because you don't want to be a wuss. You know what I mean? And it was just a tough place to be a Christian, to be an out there, lovey-dovey Christian. And I came across this boy, Bernie Tamati. I probably shared this before, but that's okay. Just pretend that you've never heard this story. Bernie Tamati is this Maori guy, and he would carry around this big Bible, like the old school big brown ones, the leather case. The King Thompson, King James ones. And he would carry it around with him, and he would preach to everyone, unashamed, gangster as, doesn't give a stuff. Teacher, year 12, whatever. He was year 10 when I met him, and I was year 8, which in those days I was Form 4, and he was Form 5, I think we call it. And he saw me one day with my guitar. He said, hey bro, can I talk to you about God? I was like, oh, yeah. But I was trying to hide my faith, because, I was embarrassed, and it was just, done too much compromise, too much worrying about girls, and too much, and so my heart was too consumed with what other people. And Bernie came and he found me. He's like, hey, so you're a Christian? Oh, do you believe in God? And can I talk to you about God? I was like, oh, yeah, I'm a Christian. He's like, oh, you're a Christian? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, sweet, bro, let me show you this verse. Blah, 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 blah. He starts, talking, and he's really passionate about everything he's talking about. And then one day he just goes, hey, we're going to do a Christian concert at school. You can play guitar, okay? I was like, okay. I was just stunned. Like, I knew he was right, and I knew this is a good thing. Like, because, I go to church still, so I know you should express your faith to people, and you should evangelize, and you don't have to be an evangelist. You're supposed to do it anyway. It's not an evangelist job. You're supposed to share your faith regardless. It just happens to be that evangelists are better than you at doing it. And so here I am. I say no, and then on the night just before the concert, in my mind, I'm like, I might pull a sickie. You know, when you just say to your mum and dad, oh, I've got a bit of a sore tummy, Mum. Have you ever done? No, don't. Mummy, I've got a sore tummy. I can't go to school tomorrow. But really, I was contemplating it, but I felt like there was a moment there where, like, the Holy Spirit's over me, and he says, and it's almost like, it was a pivotal turning point in my faith that this is the place where you have to plant your flag in the sand. You have to go to school and do this concert. And all the girls you like are going to see you and know that you're one of those wussy Christian kids. And you're like a little, you're one of them. And so you're not going to go out with any cool, nice girls anymore. It's like your social life will be dead after this moment. Like, this is all in my mind. Obviously, I don't think everyone thought that. But that's the fears you have. And so I did this concert with Bernie. And then the next thing I know, we're doing the Bridge of Remembrance outside of nightclubs, and I'm like Form 5, like I'm not even, we're outside of nightclubs, and he's just going for it. And my mum didn't care as long as I'm with Bernie, because Bernie would come over, and he's obviously into Jesus, and my mum's like, if he's into Jesus, you go with him, you can go with him, you can go to the nightclub. Well, we were too young to go in, but we would stand outside, we would sing some songs on the guitar, just have a little jam worship, and like on the street corner where everyone's walking past. And then Bernie would talk to people about Jesus, and I would stand there quiet and just watch. Because I'm like, I'm just learning things, just watching and shy. And we did all sorts of weird things like that. And there was a few people that, from my youth group, one was Willie Mamaku, and another guy, Inyo Salazar. And these two guys would kind of disciple me. They were like older men, and they would pick me up every week on a Wednesday for Bible study, and Friday for youth group, and then on Sunday. Pick me up, drop me off. And we'd go all around Christchurch picking up kids and dropping them off. And so my faith at that point was very strong. And I was like 16, 17, end of high school. Then what happened is after high school, I went to this, I moved to Auckland, and I went to this performing arts school. And it was a Christian one, but all the kids were like me, okay? So they're all 17, 18, and they all move away from home. What do you think happens? No accountability, young, immature Christianity. I mean, girls were going home pregnant. This is a Christian, you're sent here from your church pays for you to go. And like the parties were crazy, And I just remember thinking, oh, this is like awesome. Mum and Dad don't know who I am. Like they're not here. Bernie's not here. No one's around me. I can play in the other side of the fence where it always has looked glamorous to me. And you think over there's an awesome life. And I had Auckland cousins that I had never really met to, and so I met them up there, and I love all my cousins, and I've always looked up to them because they're bigger than me, stronger than me. They were what I thought I wanted to be, which was gangster and tough, and I don't know some stupid narrative I had in my head. And so I moved in with one of my cousins, his name's Sonny, and Victoria, moved in with them, and Sonny was a marijuana dealer. And I remember one day he goes, hey, I'm just going out. If anyone knocks on the door, just there's a box here, just give them some stuff, and then take the money. Make sure you get the money first. And I'm just like, what the heck? Like, I'm the Christian kid, I'm pretending that I don't do things, but like all of a sudden I'm like dealing drugs at the other's house. And I was just like, it's a different world. And I wasn't even smoking it too. And I would go into the garage where they would always smoke. And my cousins were in there, and they would be rapping. There'd be Tupac posters and Notorious B.I.G. posters. And these are like old rappers anyway. So these are old rappers. that were cool in my days, and they'll be in there rapping and like singing songs, and I had the guitar jams, like all that kind of stuff, and just all of them always high. And I'll just come into the garage and just sort of sit there and just watch. And it was like this whole different world, you know, raised in the Christian home, and now I'm seeing the other side of life. But it's with my family, so there's a different sense of togetherness, you know. And there's cousins that I love and look up to, and they have kids too. And so I'm there, and you know, every time they go, "Oh, Henry," they used to call me Hennessy because my name's Henry, and Hennessy is like Hennessy's a cognac, I believe, it's an alcohol drink, and when you're trying to be cool, alcohol's a cool thing. So anyway, they'll say, "Henry, yeah, oh, Hennessy, do you want to smoke some weed?" And I'll say, "Oh, no. So I'm all good." You know, I had a conviction that you don't do this. And then, long story short, after a while, I just thought, "Oh, let's just try a little bit. We'll try a little bit." And the next thing you know, I remember, fast forward a month later, because they would always go there early in the morning and just get high. The first thing they do when they wake up. I remember one day my cousin comes in, and I was already in there smoking weed on my own. And he comes in and he goes, "Oh, Hennessy, hey, things have changed. Look what's happened to you." And I looked up at him, because I was actually on my knees looking under the washing machine, because I think I dropped some weed under there. It had dropped down and rolled under. And I look up at him and I'm like, something happened in my heart. I feel like God was saying, it's almost like a snapshot of him looking down on me, and I'm seeing what God's seeing, and he's saying, "What are you doing, my son? Who have you become?" And my cousin, he's a rapper, and he wrote this song, he wrote this lyric, and it says, "When you look into the mirror, you see you've become everything you said you wouldn't when you first begun. Now you circle the earth like the lonely sun." Maybe that's just me and I'm the only one. It sounded cooler than that. And that lyric went through my head, and I was like, "Oh, I've become everything I didn't want to become, and I'm actually quite lonely." And the cousins I thought we were going to do camaraderie is like, druggies live quite a selfish life. I don't know if you know that. Very selfish, very self-indulgent, very flesh gratifying, very paranoid of everyone around you. Everyone's jealous of each other's girlfriends and boyfriends, and you don't talk to my girlfriend, and you know, because reality is they'll sleep with them, and you know, they're having babies everywhere, no one gets married. It's just a very dysfunctional type of thing. This is typical, you're not Christian, so what else do you do? And so something struck a chord in me, and I remember thinking, I need to go home. I need to go home. And so I left Auckland, went back home to Christchurch as a drug addict, continued to smoke, continued to do drugs and a variety of other party drugs around that. And I was working at a restaurant as a kitchen hand, washing dishes. And a friend rang me one night and said, "Henry, what are you up to, bro?" And he was from my youth days. His name's Morris. And he said, "Oh, what are you up to?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just working, bro. Just working at a restaurant." He's like, "Oh, yeah. What do you do there?" And I wanted to say chef or something cool, but I was like, "Oh, I wash the dishes." I wash the dishes. It's like, "Oh, what do you want to come to Australia? You know, we're doing a breakdancing group over here. Like, we do breakdancing, and we, we share Jesus through the message of God." And I used to do racing a little bit when I was a bit skinnier and lighter and shorter. And I was like, yeah, I do. I need to come. It's like almost like God was on the phone saying to me, "Are you done with your little prodigal son moment? Have you finished?" It was like that powerful. And it's like I knew God was saying, "That's enough. Come to Australia." And so I felt almost like Jonah, like I was just spewed up on the shores of Australia, like, get back to doing what you're doing, because I made a decision in my heart, like, I need to go back to the Lord. I'm going nowhere, I'm doing nothing, I'm washing dishes, and the best thing I'm going to look forward to is getting high after work. That's all I had in my life. And so I moved to Australia, went to Roger Brewer's church. You guys know Pastor Roger? And I started with him. And it was a long journey, and poor Rog, man, I don't know how he stuck with me, because I was a rat bag. You know, I thought I knew everything, you know, and I still do. And Roger took me under his wing, and he just kind of discipled me, hung out with me. I played the guitar, and I was still drinking a bit there. And I remember I played rugby for Hawkesbury Valley, which was Roger's rugby club. He just brought me to training. Played one training, and I was like, my legs were like dead for a week, because I hadn't run in 2 years. Because when you smoke weed, you don't really do exercise. You just sit around and get high. And then I was at church one day, and Mary Medcalf is a little short Irish lady. She said, "Hey, Henry, do you want to come and share at youth?" And I said, "Yeah, okay." Because it was just kind of almost like, I kind of understand when this could be a God opportunity. I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll come and share at youth." Come and share at youth. And then afterwards, she's like, "That was amazing. The kids never listened to me." She's like, "They never stopped to listen. You had their attention, and you only went for a little bit, but they listened." And I felt like they were like, I was like, "Oh, thank you, Mary." And then after that, I gave $20 to one of the youth kids. His name was Robbie Johnson. I said, "Can you go buy me some weed, bro, at your house?" And he'd go down the road, get some weed, and come back and give it to me. And I'll do this for like 3 weeks. And after the third week, I said to Mary, "Mary, I can't speak anymore." She said, "Oh, why not?" I was like, "I've got some personal issues I need to figure out." In other words, I just knew I was a hypocrite, and this is not a good look for a youth leader. Like 101, you don't give kids money to go buy you weed and then tell them about Jesus next week. Yay, hey. Like it's just and I just knew it was wrong. But I almost felt like it was like a little touch of where God was saying, "This is where I want you to go, my son. What do you choose?" And I chose, instead of drawing near to God, which is what I want to talk about this week, I chose to no. Instead of drawing near to God and pushing in and saying, "Yeah, Mary, I will speak and I will stop smoking weed and I've got to repent and turn around," I decided to no, I'm not good enough, and play the kind of card like I'm not good enough. But really, I just wanted to keep sort of smoking weed here and there. And I was getting better, and that was how I justified it. I wasn't high every day, I was just high in the weekends, which is, a big step for me. But long story short, Roger asked me to come into Richmond High one day, and I was still fighting it, and I was getting better and better. And so I felt, how when you're a young Christian, you think if you haven't sinned for a while, you're better, and that God loves you a little bit more than he did before. But really, that's a lie. Like, God's love for you never changes. It's just that your understanding of his love changes. And so he came and asked me to share, and I shared, and I thought, this is good. And I just basically decided, I'm not going to smoke weed anymore. I've got to stop cigarettes. I'm not going to go to the rugby club anymore to do the drinking thing, because I never had an issue with alcohol. I just didn't really care about it. And I just stopped, and I just changed. And I decided I wasn't going to do that. And I was at Bridgewater for 12 years. And I always say to Roger, 3 good years you got out of me, bro. Like the other 9, you were just struggling trying to disciple this ratbag kid who knows everything, raised in the church. I've heard every sermon, and so there's nothing he could say to change me if I didn't want to do it. I just didn't do it. And so 9, 10, 11, 12, and then after that, it's like God, there was this guy, I decided, that's right, I was going to become a firefighter because that was a government job. And a government job means, it's secure, and you're becoming a man because you have a secure job. So I was like, I'll do this fire job. And then I passed all these different tests that you have to do online. And the last test was a physical test where you put this big ladder up and you crawl into the smoky room and you have to pull out a heavy dummy and go down and run as fast as you can and unroll this rope. And I was like, this is the only thing I'm confident at, doing something physical. All the other stuff I was nervous about. And on the way to this test, my car broke down. I had a Subaru Liberty, or Subaru, I don't know what you guys call it. So I had a Subaru, and it broke down, it overheated, and I pulled over on the side of the road and said, "God, what are you doing? This was supposed to be me, growing in my responsibility as a man, getting a proper job, stop being a labourer. Not that being a labourer is bad. And I was just praying, and I put on some music, and just sort of, I call it having a jam time, jam time, Jesus and me, J-A-M, having a jam time with God. I just need to have a jam with God. Here I am, I'm just jamming out, and I hear God say, "Ring that number." And a couple of weeks before, a man by the name of Brad Thornton, do you know Brad? Yeah, really godly, wise man. If you meet his family, you just feel like, oh, this is what a good Christian family should be. And just everything about him is just, I call him the silver fox. It's just, I don't know. Anyway, he gave me this number a number of weeks before and said, "Here's a job if you're interested." And I didn't think of anything of it because he said it's a youth job at another church. And I was like, nah, I don't, I'm with Rog, because something about me, I'm a very loyal, faithful guy. if you're my family, you're my family. So when I go to a church, I just don't go there because it looks good or it's big or anything. I go there if I have a family connection with someone. And so Roger had become, like my spiritual father in many ways. He's one of my giants of faith that helped me to shape who I am today. And so there was no way I was going to move to another church. But in this moment, it's like God said, ring that number. So I ring the number, and the guy's like, oh, hey, my name's Michael Aiken. Who are you? And I was like, oh, my name's Henry. He's like, yeah, hi, Henry. Why are you calling me? I was like, oh, just ringing about, do you have a job going at your church? He said, yeah, I do. I'm looking for a youth minister or a youth pastor. Are you interested? And I said, no, not really. It was weird. I said, not really, but I'm seeing if this is a God thing. I don't know what it's doing. I was hesitant. I said, I'm just seeing if this is a God thing. And he says, okay, well, that's interesting, because he's Anglican, so very proper and everything's structured. So, okay, well, that's very interesting. Well, I've got 5 questions for you. They are, what is women's role in ministry? I don't know if you know the kind of dynamics of Anglicans and women. What is the strengths and weaknesses of the Pentecostal movement? I was like, oh, okay. And he's Anglican, so keep this in mind, he's Anglican. What are the strengths and weaknesses of the Pentecostal movement? What is your views on social justice? What is your gospel? And what are the implications of your gospel? And I was like, oh, this guy's like, who cares about it? I don't know. I've never even thought about this question, because I was at a Baptist, Roger's church is a Baptist church. I'd come from a Pentecostal church, and now this Anglican guy, and I had never really thought about denominations to that level of what different denominations believe. I was just a naive young Christian who thought everyone loves Jesus and we all just get along, but that's not actually true. There's a lot of there's some differences out there. And so I just emailed him back. I just went, well, this is what I think. And women's role in ministry, yeah, good, I don't care. Anyone can speak, why, yeah. I've got no issue with women doing anything. Because, my mum, one of the biggest, foundations of my faith was my mum. And so, got no issue with that. Social justice, well, yeah, all good, yeah, praise the Lord. Here's my gospel, here's my implications of the gospel, and there you go, take it or leave it. And he emails me back, he's like, I loved your answers, so thoughtful. And I was like, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I put some time and some effort into that, but I was just like, bro, I did not care. I was just like, all right, there you go. Because I didn't really want the job, because I didn't want to leave church. Because I'm not leaving a church, I'm leaving a family, You guys, this seems like quite a family-oriented church. So, it's not just the same as changing. So anyway, he's like, can you come in for an interview? I was like, oh, not right now. So I was trying to he's like, oh, can I come out and see you? Are you speaking any time at church? And I'm like, oh yeah, next week. So he comes out to church, and it's the awkwardest thing, because I'm like, hey, Rog, there's this guy, he's coming to see if I should go leave you. There's no good way to approach that. You just have to put it out there and it is what it is, Gonna be what it's gonna be. So he comes, he watches me, and he wants to talk to me afterwards. So I'm like, oh, okay, go talk to him. And he's like, yeah, we're really interested. We'd love for you to come and have an interview. So I go to this interview. This is in the Northern Beaches, this is churches in the Northern Beaches, Anglican church. Everybody's white. I'm not white. And I'm not racist. I'm just making observations. And I make it my personal aim to try and turn these guys off. So I put a basketball singlet on and footy shorts. And I just rock in yeah, what's up? Okay. Yeah, man. Yeah, what's up? My name's Henry. Yeah, I'm from New Zealand. Yeah, cheer. And I sit down, I do this interview, and it's the wardens. It sounds real official, wardens. Because they're not called elders, they're called wardens. And it sounds like some type of, magical character of Lord of the Rings, warden. So I just sit down, it's warden, and she's like, hi, my name's Chris, I'm the finance warden here. I'm like, oh, okay, finance warden. She's like, oh, I'm the property warden. was like, okay. She's like, I look after the property. I'm the pastoral warden, and I'm the minister's warden, his personal. I was like, okay, well, I don't know about these structures and hierarchy. And so I'm just like, yeah, whatever. And they just ask me a bunch of questions, and I just be like I am now. I just be myself. There's one thing I've learned to do is just be myself. And so I just be myself, and they loved everything. And they're like, oh, we would love to offer you a job. What do you think? And I'm just like, oh, okay. And they're like, we could offer you this package. Is that a good number for you? What do you think? And I don't know what ministers, because everything I've done in ministry has been for free with Rog. Roger's never paid me nothing. Yeah, Roger ain't paying you anything. You're going to be with him for the love of the ministry. That's it. And so I was just like, I don't know, what do you get paid and what's a remuneration? What does that mean? Remuneration, I don't know how to say that word. And then they were talking about ministry expense account and all these foreign things, like, because, I'm just a fob, you might say. And then anyway, I was like, oh, can I just go away and ask some, think about it? They're like, sure. Because I was trying to look for a way out still. I don't want to go. I still don't want to come. But in my heart, I'm still being faithful to the process of, if this is God, I will go, but I don't want to go. So I'm still trying to follow God, but at the same time, I don't want to. And then I rang Brett and another guy, Jake, and they were both youth ministers. I said, hey, bro, what do you get paid? Brett's like, oh, I get paid X amount. I was like, oh, so how does it, I was asking him questions. And I was like, oh, yeah. And then I asked my other friend, Jake, what do you get paid? Because so I was like, all right, I'm going to ask for that. And I don't want this job. So if you want me, I'm going to ask, I'm just going to ask for something a bit stupid. So I asked for what I thought was stupid, and they're like, yeah, fine, that still sounds great. I was like, oh man, I should have doubled that, What was I thinking? And then I was like, okay, well that didn't work. They're still happy with that. And then I was about to get married to my wife, or to my then girlfriend, which is a whole nother story. I could share that story. That's a big story. So I was about to get married to her, and she was like, if we move out there, we need a certain house. We need this, 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 and this. And I was like, oh, okay, because I don't care where I'll sleep anywhere. It doesn't matter to me. But, the wife makes it the home. The man just, I don't know what you get there into the home. What's that candle doing? What's the candle for? Why do we need 20 pillows on the bed? Who cares what color the drapes are? Like, I don't know. Why do you care about this and that? And all these different things that I didn't understand was a part of making it a homely environment, and what sort of rug it was, if it went with the match with the cushions, and did that match with the, I didn't care. And then the plates. Why did the plates have to care about what the color of the plates are? It's just a plate, But all these things I'm figuring out, and she's like, this is what we need if we want to move out there. Because she already had a house lined up and it had all those things. And so I went back to these guys and said, oh, well, we need a place, and what, do you have anywhere we could live? They showed me this place, and it's brand new, no one's ever lived in it. They've just made it, and everything that my wife wanted. I was like, God! I'm still not going. After all that, I was like, nah, I'm still not. Then I had a vision. This is the camel that broke the straw. This is the straw that broke the camel's back. That's what I was supposed to say. I'm sitting there, I have a vision, and in the Old Testament, where the people would follow the pillar of cloud during the day, and then where the pillar stopped, they would set up the tabernacle, and the Shekinah glory would go over, the Ark of the Covenant, and then they would stay there until the pillar moved on, and at night, all the pillar of fire. And I had this vision, and I'm not someone who gets visions, so don't come and ask me for a prophetic vision. This is just this one random occasion. I had this strong vision that I was there, and I come out of my tent, and the Shekinah glory is way in the distance, like the clouds that way, and all the people are gone, and I'm in my tent. And God was saying, you can stay there if you like, but I'm moving on. Where I want you to go is over here. And you can stay with Roger, that's fine, but just know you're there on your own, in your own little tent. You're in your own waka, they say in New Zealand. You're doing your own thing. You're not following God. And that was a powerful thing, because like I said, I don't get visions. And so that was just like, okay, God, I will go to this church. And so I've been at this church this would be my 8th year at this church now. Being at this church, and I've struggled a lot with a lot of things. If you know Anglican churches and you see what I do here, you'll see there's a very big contrast in how things are approached in different ways of thinking and being, and yet God still chose me to go there and do what I do there. And it was heartbreaking to leave a church that you've poured your heart into. You've discipled a lot of the kids into faith. You've come to faith yourself in many ways. You've dealt with addictions. But, following God, like I said this morning, it's difficult. And He will lead you into things that you don't want to go to. And that has been my journey. And so, youth minister, I still do high school ministries. That's one of my main things that I love to do, teaching 4 high schools. And I run the youth group, and I have a leadership team that meets in my house every Tuesday. And one of the big things we do is just jam, have some worship, share the word of God with one another. And I just always say, if you can be a worshipper, if you can lead yourself to the source of eternal life, you'll always have something to give to the younger people. So when you come to youth as a leader, make sure you're filled up. Don't come in all tired. I've had a hard week at uni. I don't want to hear about it. I just want you to go into the car park and fill yourself up, and then come into youth group as a leader, ready to pour out, ready to give yourself to the youth, and to train them up in the ways of God, and to share your heart and your life with them, and your money with them, and your car rides home, and everything that's required, anything. And so I've been doing that for a long time, and speaking here and there. And so this moment for me, this week at this camp, for me, it's almost like I was struggling to do this, because I don't feel, in many ways I felt like I was inadequate to be like a keynote speaker at like an adult camp. Like I said this morning, I was all ready for the youth camp. Like, I'm good for that, because I feel like I can speak to youth. But being the adult camp, it's like, oh Lord, you want me to do this? Is this something I should do? And so that's what's brought me here today. And so I don't know where I want to end with that, but my favorite verse in the Bible is Psalm chapter 16. I think it's verse 7 and 8. It says, I will praise the Lord who counsels me. Even at night, my heart instructs me. For I have chosen to set the Lord always before me, for He is my right hand, and I will not be shaken. I will praise the Lord who counsels me. Even at night, my heart instructs me. For I have chosen to set the Lord always before me. He is my right hand, and I will not be shaken. And I guess when I think of my testimony is a testimony of always putting God before me and be willing to go where He takes me. Whether it be at an early age listening to my mum, whether it be at high school doing the Christian concert, whether it be trying to find myself with my cousins and smoking weed and understanding, no, this is not you. Run that back. Go back to the Lord. Whether it be doing a high school for the first time with Pastor Roger, never done that before, but all right, share my testimony, who knows what's going to happen here. And so I guess my encouragement for you guys is to do the same. Always set the Lord before you and make Him your right hand. And if you can do that, you will not be shaken. And whatever happens in your life, wherever you go, even if this camp is a total disaster and the speaker's like, well, this guy I didn't hear much word from him. He didn't exegete the word much. He just shared a lot of stories. Even if something like that happens, you can always know that whatever happens, when you get to the other side, you've put the Lord first in all things, and that you can stand before God and He'll say, well done, my good and faithful servant. You've done what I asked you to do. You set me before you. And I love that part says, even at night, my heart instructs me. And I always take that to translate. It's kind of like, even in the dark times when I'm not following Him, He's still speaking to me. He's still instructing me. And I'll just quickly share, what's the time? 9:15. I'll just quickly share this quick story with my wife. So we were going out for a bit, and I started praying. No, we weren't going out. I started praying that if she's the one, Lord, I will ask her to go out with me. And so I started praying whether she's the right girl to marry, essentially, because I didn't want to, I was, 20-something. I was like, I don't want to have summer loving. I'm not interested in summer loving. I want to go out with a girl and marry her and start a family. So I started praying. And then one night I had this dream, and me and her were on this boat, almost like a Titanic vibe. And we're heading towards this island. And at the island, we get off at the island, there's a basketball court, and I used to love playing basketball. And I'm shooting hoops, and she's watching me, and I'm showing off. You know? This is a natural thing, you show off when a girl watches you. And so, I'm showing off, she's watching me, and then on the side of the basketball court, there's this room. And you go in the room, and it's like all green, and inside the room, it's just all worship music. And me and her were just worshiping God together, and then after a while, in the dream, I look at her and I said, I just want to pursue God with all my heart, kind of something like that. And she said to me, I just want to grow in Jesus. And we both kind of agree that that's the right thing. And then we sit down, and we're just worshiping, and then my body, it's like my spirit came back to my body, and my body's like wide awake. It's the weirdest thing. Then I sit up on my bed, and it's like a strong presence of God in my room. Like, yeah, I can't even describe it really. But you know when you worship and you're sometimes crying, but you're not really sad? Yeah, some people? If you're like me, you try to wipe so that no one sees you. But like, I'm just crying, and the presence of God's strong in my room. I was like, God, what are you saying? Are you saying like she's the one? And then I was just like, Bible, I need my Bible. So I get my Bible out, I just flick it open randomly, and I just put my finger down on a random page. You know, because I'm like, this is a miraculous moment. This is where Lord moves. And I look down and it says, do not be afraid to take this woman as your wife. And I was like, because I've been praying, is she the one to marry? You know? And I was like, this is amazing. And it's like God spoke to me so strongly to marry this girl. Okay? Now, I will say this. Be very careful when God gives you a sign or some type of dream, because it almost invariably is a long light road of pain almost. I think of Joseph, you know, he had the dreams, but then what happened to him? Sold into slavery, you know, gets accused in Potiphar's house, next thing you know, he's in prison. And that's a story that plays out over years. You know, you can read it in a matter of, you know, probably take you 40 minutes to read the whole story, or maybe half an hour if you're a fast reader. It's like a decent story, but it's over years. And what happened with us is that her father basically said, no, you're not a good man. You have no idea what you're doing. You've got no 5-year plan. You've got no money. And I'm like, true. Yeah. But God said, you know, he doesn't care. He does not care. And basically, we went through 7 years of mediation, counseling, marriage, like things. And we weren't even married, but I was just wanting to marry his daughter, and he knew that. And then they moved to the Gold Coast, and she stayed in Sydney, and now I had torn the family apart. I directly destroyed a family by wanting to marry his daughter, and because I wanted to marry her, and she knew that, and it was his fault because he told her that I liked her. I didn't even tell her, you know, I didn't approach her or nothing, because I wanted his permission. And 7 years of, honestly, like, dysfunctional conversations, and like, yeah, different pastors, different mediators, psychology, like, it was hard. And at the end of that 7 years, he walked her down the aisle, gave her away to me, and gave me his blessing, prayed over me at the wedding, everything like that. And I'm like, oh, that's why he gave me the dream, God. Because something spiritually quite significant that was going to see me through all these things. Because that whole time in my heart, I could remember that time in the room where God said, do not be afraid to take this woman as your wife. And like, oh, I think back now, I'm like, God, I wish you could have just done something. Like, yeah, so I just share that as a little backdrop to my wife. And she's not here, she's up in the Gold Coast, and so I'm having great sleeps. I can't wait to go to bed tonight and just be like, no kids are coming to look at me, like, go away. So thank you for listening. I'm going to pass it over to